Okay, so this was our old chainsaw. It's a Husqvarna 440. So this one is trash. But I'm not saying Husqvarna. I'm not saying Husqvarna as a brand is bad. I'm not saying that this chainsaw is bad. Sorry about the chicken. Anyway, this chainsaw technically is not a bad chainsaw by any means, and Husqvarna is not a bad brand, but this one's a little worn out. It was not taken care of properly at all. So yeah, it's a little worn out. But we got a new chainsaw. This one also was an 18-inch bar. We got a new chainsaw, and I'm going to show you some of the differences between this and what we have now. And this is the new chainsaw. This is a Stihl ms271, also known as the Farm Boss. If you're looking at buying one, don't call the store and ask for a Farm Boss. They're not going to know what you're talking about. Make sure you use the model number, which is ms271. Sorry about that. A plane decided to fly over, and you can still probably hear it. But see, ms271. Make sure you ask for an ms271. Now, like I said, the Husqvarna is not a bad brand. Oh, and by the way, that is the 2-stroke oil I use. I didn't mean to leave it out here, but it's out here, so that's what I use. But, like I said, the Husqvarna is not a bad chainsaw, but there are a few things I like on this one over the Husqvarna, which I did forget to bring the tool to take the cover off, so I'll do that in a second. So first thing that I like over on the Stihl over the Husqvarna is with the Husqvarna you have no choke. Down is to shut the engine off. You pull up, you have choke, but if you try to pull in the trigger, okay, apparently it's broken. It's supposed to automatically release. I don't know why it's not. Yeah, like that. This one, you pull the trigger, well, up is to kill it, but you pull the trigger in, you push it all the way down, that's full throttle and choke. You can pull it up a notch, and that's just choke, and then when you pull the trigger, it'll release the choke. Another thing is, and by no means is a primer bulb bad, but this one has a primer bulb. This one, the priming system is actually built into the pole start, and so there's no bulb to prime. One thing, which I don't know if Husqvarna's fixed, some things I see, I think they fixed it. Other things I see, I really don't know. I haven't seen one in person. But these gas caps are usually really hard to get off. This one's really loose and it's still not easy to get off. These gas caps are really normally hard to get off. You pretty much have to carry around a pair of pliers. Really, really annoying to get off, especially if you forget your pliers. On this side though, you just have a flip up, quarter turn. It's really easy and no fighting with it to get the cap off. This one does have a 20-inch bar. Give me just a second. This one does have a 20-inch bar. It says it right there. And this one has 2 bar nuts instead of 1, which I mean I never really have a problem with 1 bar nut. Now there are a few things. I'm gonna go grab the chainsaw tool so I can show you a couple more things. Also, at least where we bought this one, you get the chainsaw tool, the owner's manual, and they take it and make sure it's tuned properly, running properly for you. But let me show you a couple more things real quick. I actually happen to like the 3 screws holding this cover on, but the quick release type latches are also kind of nice. They both work fine. This is one thing. This this air filter looks like a much better design compared to this one, which not only is smaller, which this is like a 40cc or 42cc, something like that. This is a 50.5, so a 50cc. But this air filter, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but it doesn't look like it would stop a whole lot from getting inside the engine. But this one has a much better filter. You just give it a little twist, and then it comes right off. And then you make sure it's getting clean. Alright, and so then you just make sure it's getting clean, and then you put it back on there, give it a little twist, it locks in. There's a divider here which keeps these two separated. There's a little divider in the cap of this one. And this one's still going to suck in a lot of hot air. This one has a much better divider, allowing it to suck in mostly cold air. But it does have a little orange plastic piece here that you can pop out and flip around and put it back in. And it allows warm air into the engine during the winter to keep it from freezing up. Now where I live in Georgia, I don't really think I'm really going to need that, but especially up north, that could be really, really useful. The next thing is going to be in the side cover here, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, so now with the side cover off here, I'm going to take this side cover off, which I already had the bar nut off of this one. Bar-wise, they look similar, but this one, of course, is a little bit shorter. That chain is worn out. I'm sure technically the bar is. So this is the side cover from the Husqvarna. And I have to say, this one is metal, but the plastic should be just fine. Now, on this one, there's no real chain guides to wear out. Whereas this one, you had these plastic chain guides that you can replace as they wear out, which is actually really nice. The tensioner is built into the side cover. I do not like that. The tensioner on this one is built into the chainsaw. Of course, you can take it apart and clean it. You can also take this whole cover off. But the tensioner is built into the chainsaw, which is a much better design to me. The brake is also built in the chainsaw, because if you accidentally leave the brake on, you can't really get the cover off, and if you do take it off, you can actually mess up the brake. This one actually broke, and so I removed all of it. But the brake is built in to the chainsaw, so you don't have to worry about that. If you want to leave the brake on, you can. You don't have to worry about that. Another thing is, with the sprocket being more on the inside, this one is much easier to get the chain on and off. Another thing that I noticed is this one doesn't seem to hold nearly as much sawdust as this one does as you're cutting. And so I'm going to put this back together real quick. I'm going to start it up for you and let you hear it run for just a second. I've already cut down some trees and cut up some trees from the hurricane, but I've still got at least like 3 or 4 more trees. So I don't know when I'll make a video on it, because I got to get some stuff done on my truck. But I will be making a video on that really soon, of actually using the chainsaw. At least that's my plan anyway. The one thing that I did find kind of odd, but really isn't a big deal to me, is this gives you the Torx for the cover. This does the bar nuts, and I believe one of these two, I haven't actually pulled the spark plug out yet, but one of these two does the spark plug. I'm thinking it's a smaller one. For some reason, the bar adjuster the tensioner is a flathead, and they don't give you a flathead. I feel like they could have made that a Torx or made these a flathead, and it would have worked fine. Or rather, this meant a Torx, if anything. But, you know, carrying around an extra screwdriver really isn't going to hurt anything. I've got plenty of screwdrivers, but I just find that kind of odd. I'm going to try to start it real quick. I got to go get a stand to hold the camera, though. Okay, so I'm going to start the chainsaw up real quick. I'm going to cut a few pieces off of this, which I'm going to start right here. I already cut most of the way through this before, but I'm going to work my way down a few cuts. I will actually be trying to cut down a couple of trees and cut them up. I don't have anything real big, but that'll be in a later video anyway. Let that warm up just a little bit, but it starts very easily.